Alert! Alert! You have left zone 2! Please stop running immediately and lay down on the ground! Now! Now! Good morning and welcome to Sunday the 26th of October. Clocks went back, hope you remembered. Too late if you're watching this 5 days later. Now, haven't taken the GoPro for a run for a while, but it is a beautiful morning in Essex and I've got nobody to run with, so I thought I'd bring the GoPro and have a run and chat. A couple of topics on my mind, zone 2 training and how we monitor our heart rate. I'll update you on that in a minute. And recovery from multi-day ultras, namely Dragon's Back. Have I allowed enough time to recover? What have I learned about recovery? Etc, etc. So it won't be a long video. I'll give you little bits of Essex countryside interspersed. And yeah, I'll speak to you in a bit. So first off, let's talk about zone 2 training. Anybody who's been watching this series for quite a while will know that I bought into zone 2 training about 18 months ago. I'm still a firm believer in the benefits, and I think it's the reason I managed to get 18 months of no injury, bearing in mind terrain, workload, everything else. Only injury was plantar, had nothing to do with heart rate. That was just persevering with a pair of shoes that weren't good for my type of foot. So there's a lesson for everybody there. If you develop plantar, it could be your shoes, maybe change out of them. Worked for me. Anyway, yeah, so zone 2, I'm very, the benefits for me are when I go for long runs, I don't dread them. I can go out for 3 hours knowing it's going to be very enjoyable and just chill, look at the countryside. So there's no dread about thinking, oh my God, 3 hours of hard work. It's easy work. We all know scientifically it builds up all the mitochondria in your legs, I suppose, or body, and you use them later on. Very useful little things. And the other benefit, as I say, you can up your mileage without a risk of injury because you're keeping the body in a very relaxed, comfortable zone. Anyway, there's more benefits than that, but you can Google those. That's not what this video is about. However, all a bit windy. I'll record the next bit when there's not so much wind. Right, welcome back. Hopefully not so breezy now. Yeah, so zone 2 training. The key is, first of all, is your zone 2 device monitoring your zone 2 correctly, because a lot of people will say that I don't go by heart rate, I go by breathing and how I feel. Now the thing is with breathing and how you feel, if you're a conditioned athlete, you're really well trained, then going by breathing and how you feel isn't going to cut the mustard. I'm sorry to disappoint a few people there, but the reason is, if you're well conditioned, your tolerance of a high heart rate is much higher. You can work out in zone 3, early zone 4, probably have a chat with the guy next to you and feel quite good, and your breathing may even be quite reasonable. So I would say not a good barometer, really not a good barometer. Heart rate, however, doesn't lie. Your heart rate is your heart rate. So if you're in zone 3, you're in zone 3, and all the things mechanically and physiology that means for the body. Now, there's 2 ways most athletes monitor their heart rate. We have these watches, and they've got a little Lite diode on the bottom that doesn't measure the heart beat, it measures changes in colour, I think, of the skin, and presumes each time it changes that was a heartbeat. Fair enough, but not the most accurate thing in the world. So I've been doing all of my Zone 2 training from my watch, and it does give you a good indicator as to whether it's going up or down, but I'm not convinced now of the accuracy. So today I've got my chest monitor on. Now I'm very lucky, I bought an old Garmin about 10 years ago, and for Jenny, my wife, because she was just starting running then, and it came with a heart rate strap, which neither of us wanted to use, so we chucked it in a box, and it's been there ever since. But now that I'm getting a bit suspicious of the accuracy of my watch, I thought, I wonder if I can find that chest strap. And rummaging through the box of Garmin watches and old running paraphernalia, there it was. And change the battery, and it turns out you can sync a Garmin strap from any old watch to your new watch. Just got to identify it, sync it, off you go. Now, out of the box, what have I noticed? Well, when I do it on my watch, the heart rate is a little bit jumpy. It'll be 90, then it'll suddenly be 120, and then it stay there for a while, and all of a sudden it'll go to 140. So that alone tells you there's something going on, because the heart doesn't behave like that. At least a normal heart doesn't behave like that. So, out of the box, I'm looking at my chest strap monitor, stats on my watch. Nice, very, very smooth climb. You can literally watch it going up 1, up 2, up 3, up 4 beats a minute. And then, if you're going too high, and you just bring it back a little bit, maybe even walk if you have to, you can actually see it coming down immediately. So yeah, spot on accuracy, because they are actually measuring your heart rate, which is obviously a far more efficient way to do it. So I think the story there is, if you're serious about heart rate training zones, then get yourself a chest strap. A little bit uncomfortable to wear, but after a couple of minutes I basically forgot I'm wearing it, apart from telling you about it. So yeah, I would recommend them. Now, next bit we'll talk about in a minute is how do we set our heart rate zones. So I'll come back to you on that in a second. Oh, it was such a beautiful day here in Essex today, and basically from November, which we nearly are, through to the end of Feb, if it's sunny, I don't wear a hat, because I want to absorb as much of that sun as possible, expose as much skin, lap up all that vitamin D, and the risk of burning has disappeared. So go for it. Anybody challenged like me? Yeah, no hats, November to February, go for it. Anyway, let's go back to Zone 2. Zone 2 talking. So yes, to run by heart rates zones, you're going to need some information first of all. Now, the more accurate this information, the better. So the first thing you need is your maximum heart rate. Now, if you're brand new to running, then by all means go by 220 minus your age, and you probably won't be far off. However, if you're a conditioned athlete, or you've been running a while, I would say your maximum heart rate will be quite a bit above 220 minus your age. So, best way to work it out, I think, is warm up for about 10 minutes, then do about 5 1-minute strides, good strong strides, and then go for a flat out 1 mile run. And I mean flat out, I mean in the last 400, absolutely give it your all, leave nothing left, go for it, and then have a look what your max heart rate was. Now obviously if you can get a chest strap, all the better, but otherwise take a little thing you clip on your finger, and as soon as you finish, and I mean instantly, clip it on your finger, and they're very accurate, see what it's recording, and take that for now as your maximum heart rate. Your true maximum may be a little higher, because generally for me I have to race a 5k to hit max. A mile actually isn't long enough to get it up to max, funnily enough, and because there's an anaerobic element in there as well, you're not using pure aerobic. So a 5k would be better, but for now just go and do a mile. It'll give you a good indication. So armed with that, there's two ways of measuring. One is a percentage of your max heart rate, which is fair enough, and that's ideal for beginners to work with. And if you Google how do I find out my zones using max heart rate, loads of information. I don't need to tell you here. However, the way I prefer, and this is very, very applicable for conditioned athletes, is heart rate zone or heart rate range. Yeah, that's it. Now, this calculation takes into account your resting heart rate. So if you're going to use this, you need to know your resting heart rate. And the only way you're going to find that out is to wear your Garmin 7 days on the trot at night time as well. And it'll work out over that 7-day period what your heart rate went down to while you're having a kip in the evenings. And that will be your resting heart rate. Now the range is of course the difference between your resting and your maximum. And again, I won't go into it here, but if you Google how do I set my heart rate training zones based on heart rate range, it'll tell you exactly how to calculate them. And then you've got all the information you need to work out what your zones are. You have about a 10 to 12 beat range in zone 2 to work in. I tend to work pretty close to the max, and I don't get too stressed if I venture into zone 3, as long as when I do, I just bring it down again for a little while, and you end up with about 90% of your run in zone 2, which is fine. You want to be at the upper end rather than the lower end anyway, for in my books. So yeah, see how you get on with that. Pop it into comments if you find it's working for you already. I'd be very interested to know. A lot of debate about zone 2 training amongst runners who've been running for a long time. So yeah, let us know what you think. So before we close off the zone 2 training bit and move on to recovery from Dragon's Back, let's talk about how much of your training as a coach I would suggest should be in zone 2. And it comes down to where you are as an athlete, because if you're a complete beginner, I would say, well no, before we say that, zone 2 training doesn't mean do 100% of your running in zone 2. All that's going to train you for is just running in zone 2. So all your races will have to be in zone 2 as well. And nobody wants that, because to get the best out of yourself in a race, you want to be zone 4 or 5. Especially well, short races, 5k, 10k, even half marathons. Now, so what you do if you're a beginner, I would say work on 90-10, which is 90% of your runs should be zone 2. So just enjoy yourself. And then 10%, get out there, do some intervals, maybe just do a tempo run for the other 10% of your mileage. So if you're doing 20 miles a week, all you want is a 2-mile tempo thrown in, and then 18 miles of zone 2 running as an example. Now next, if you're a mildly conditioned athlete, or you've been running for a while, then work on 80-20, get 20% of that workload into zone 3, 4, 5, intervals, tempos. That's the only way to do it really. And if you're a highly conditioned athlete, depends on your event really. I mean, for most highly conditioned athletes, I would suggest 70-30, but do keep an eye on your body as to whether you need to change that ratio and have more zone 2 one week over another. But you should, I can tolerate, when I'm really fit, 70-30 quite easily. And yeah, but if you're training for out and out aerobic events, 1500 mile or whatnots, then you're going to eventually progress to much higher depending on the stage of the season. But we're not really talking about those speedy people. We're talking about us regular runners, aren't we? Ultra runners, yep, I would say 90-10, depending on what sort of ultras you're doing, what sort of terrain. For me as a mountain runner who loves mountain ultras now, that's my genre, I would say 80-10, even 90-10, depending on what my workload is fine, because you want to have enough leg speed that you can move quickly on the runnables but you do want immense strength, zone 2, high zone 2 zone, because you can notch it up higher and higher on your leg speed as you go on. Yeah, you want to be able to work hard for longer periods without getting tired. So yeah, there you are. Enough on zone 2. We'll move on to recovery from Dragon's Back in a minute. Okay, next up, let's talk about recovery from Dragon's Back race, Lite, or Hatchling. Now, the race itself was about 7 or 8 weeks ago now, feels like an age. And if I'm honest, even as a running coach, I jumped back into it too soon. Now, the good reason for that is because I ended up on the Hatchling, but I'd conditioned myself with aerobic capacity and fitness levels to do the whole thing, but the technical side and fueling let me down. But I just felt, you know, I might as well get straight back into it, because I didn't do, it's like doing a half marathon when you're training for a marathon. You'd think, oh, I don't need any recovery, I might as well just get straight back on it. And that was my mentality. And had a week off completely in Woolacombe down by the sea. And yeah, and then I've been 25, if you look at my Strava graph, 28, 30, but intervals again, straight in. Shouldn't really have done those for about 3 or 4 weeks. So it wasn't a nice comeback. I had lots of days where I had nothing in the tank for no logical reason, but the obvious reason was I wasn't recovered. And so I wouldn't recommend what I did. However, 8 weeks in, 7 weeks in, I feel very normal now, back to my usual self. Track speed is returning. I can knock out some reasonable reps, just need to get the actual out and out leg speed back, which will take time, get those fast twitch fibers back. So yeah, if I was writing a plan for somebody for the Hatchling and they did the Hatchling, I would have written in their plan a lot more recovery afterwards. And as is often the case, this is why we have coaches, and this is even why coaches have coaches, because coaches need somebody to whisper in their ear the correct approach, because we don't always listen to our own advice. We think I don't know what's going on with the psychology of a coach and his own advice, to be honest, but yeah. So anyway, that's what happened. So I made my recovery come back a little bit more uncomfortable than it needed to be. However, I think I'd have arrived here 26th of October pretty much in the same position. So, but I could have just enjoyed the process a bit more and had more recovery. But here we are. So, what's next? Well, do you know what? I feel like there's a lot of fitness built up still in the system, and good ultra running fitness. However, looking around, we're coming out of ultra season really. There's one in Kendal, area events again actually, I was tempted to do end of November. But what I've decided to do is a couple of personal challenges locally in Essex, and I won't share with you now what they are, but one will appear on Strava probably the middle of November. I'll do it with Trina hopefully, and the other will appear, if it goes to plan, early December. And the early December one is designed to be something that will test spirit, mind, body, all the things that Dragon's Back was designed to test, but without the mountains. So watch this space and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I want to nail something by the end of the year that I feel like really tested my grit, tested my resolve. And I'm not saying Dragon's Back didn't, of course, because it did, but I didn't manage to get through the challenge. So I want something that I can actually tick off as done. Because you've got to remember, my last 3 ultras were all DNFs. I mean, come on, who bounces back from that? 3 DNFs. I mean, might as well give up, mightn't I? Of course I won't. Of course I won't give up. But yeah, I need something to seal the year off and think, yeah, that was all right. And then we can enjoy Christmas. So watch this space. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm just going to enjoy the rest of the run now. It's been awesome. 7.5 miles in, feel like I've barely done anything because I've got the camera with me, that always makes a difference, just having a chat to the camera, and of course zone 2 in it as well. So stay fit, stay healthy, enjoy your life. Please put in the comments, actually in the comments, yeah, talk about zone 2 running, but if you're a dragon watching this, hatchling or otherwise, hatchling or full course, please comment how your recovery went, how you're feeling now 8 weeks later, and share with us, please. And also share, if you feel like it, what your next goal is and what you'll be going for next. And you can do that even if you're not a Dragon's Back participant, just whatever your next plan, your next goal, your next challenge is. Bye for now.